Dom, West Fargo needs to start off fast. They're outscoring opponents 173-21 in the first quarter. If they start out fast, they can grind other teams down with their strong run game. On the other side, Minot, they need to get the ball in the hands of their basketball state champions. Peyton Lamourie and Lofton Club-Mundy both won a championship with the Magicians men's basketball team last March. They've been in this situation before. They know how to make big plays. It's been an up and down start to the season for the UND men's basketball team. The Fighting Hawks are 3-2 on the season, but have followed each win with a loss in the next game. Coach, you told me you couldn't wait to see this team on the turf here at the Fargo Dome. Did it live up to your expectations? I don't think it's necessarily them just avoiding the Bison. I think they're trying to avoid the FCS in general. I know the Big Ten has an official mandate for their teams not to schedule any FCS teams. The NCAA tournament is quickly becoming familiar territory for the UND volleyball team. For the second year in a row, the Fighting Hawks are Big Sky champs and in the field of 64. After setting a school record with 30 wins, the Fighting Hawks will have to wait until Sunday's selection show to learn their fate. Last year, UND was swept in the first round of the NCAA tournament by Minnesota. Francis Mania is just a sophomore at South High School, but has already lived through some of the most horrific events imaginable.
They beat me with a stick on my hand, so my hand was broken and I fell down.
Francis grew up in a violent time in the Congo during a conflict between the Kasai and Katanga people in the early 2000s. Members of the opposing group showed up at Francis's family's doorstep.
We were sitting in the living room and we just saw people came in the house, and then started fighting, picking up fight, and then they hit me, they hit my dad, and they hit everybody, and then everyone has to run.
The family scattered in different directions all over southern Africa. Some made it to a refugee camp in Namibia, where more than a year later, Francis was reunited with his family, where he had to break the worst possible news.
And my grandma, she was asking me, why are you crying? I was like, my mom and dad, they're dead, they beat them.
After the tragedy, Francis and his family decided it was time to leave Africa.
I just saw my auntie called my grandma that you guys are coming to Fargo, and I was so surprised. I was like, oh, really, going to America? I was like, from there, I went in the room, I started crying. I was like, she asked me, why are you crying? I was like, I'm going far away.
That brought him here to South High School, where for the first couple months, Francis had a hard time fitting into his new life in America.
I was always quiet, because I had no friends. I always quiet. When the first day I came to Fargo, it was kind of cold, and I didn't know anyone. I was always in the house looking at the window.
His fortunes changed when he found out that even in Fargo, kids played the game he grew up loving back in Africa.
I started playing soccer when I came here, and I met a couple of friends. They told me, hey, we used to play soccer. I was like, oh, that's fine.
Now Francis is a star forward on the South soccer team and beginning to feel right at home in Fargo.
It's the best team. My team is like a family to me.
Up until last winter, Francis thought his immediate family was gone. But through Facebook and eventually sending letters, Francis's family confirmed that his parents were still alive in a refugee camp in Zambia.
I was so excited for Francis. Was so happy, tears of joy for the first time when he heard his mom's voice after a long time. He was so excited.
Life is going fine now. I can feel like I'll be someone in life.
Francis can now head to the state tournament with his new Bruin family, knowing that his own family is safe after more than a decade of uncertainty. Reporting for WDAY 6 Sports, I'm Phil Ford. Wiffle ball is one of the staple backyard games kids play growing up. One group of friends in Valley City has taken the game they played as kids to a whole new level.
It really brings us back to when we were little kids.
5 years ago, a group of friends in Valley City wanted to reconnect with their childhood through the game they grew up playing. That's when the Wiffle Ball World Series was born.
A group of friends of ours, we always used to play wiffle ball when we were little kids, and we thought it would be a good idea to put together an actual tournament together, bring people back.
Well, we want to kind of relive our childhood. It's like we always had plans of doing like a Wiffle Ball World Series. We couldn't ever imagine it to be like this.
On the field, it's a normal game of wiffle ball between teams of 4 players, with a few modifications.
It's very backyardish. 2 outs per inning. We have, you can throw the ball at people, get them out. No shoes allowed. That's another thing we allowed to tear up the field.
That's where the normalcy stops and the ridiculousness of a tournament filled with late 20-somethings playing a kids game sets in, as the guys have added new elements each year.
With how ridiculous that the wiffle ball event can be, we've just grown it year after year, adding to it. You know, the first year all we had was a normal fence, nothing special. Then adding a helicopter flyover, color guard this year. And so we've just added pieces to it year after year, and it's just become the event that it is today.
It's like that perfect like balance of like being a little over the top, but yet like still like respectful of what we're doing and still having a good time. So yeah, it's ridiculous, but in a good, very good way.
It's become a spectacle unlike any other in North Dakota.
You got to see it to believe it. You know, people, you say you got a wiffle ball game going on, but there's nothing like it anywhere.
While they may have grown up, coming back to the same backyard to play the game they grew up with gives them, at least for one day, a chance to be kids again.
We're all, you know, late 20s, early 30s, some in our 40s, but we all have that little kid inside us. And so to have this event out here and just the sheer ridiculousness of it, it's very cool.
In the end, it was Team MMB who hoisted the Shane Roberts Cup as the champions of this year's Wiffle Ball World Series.